Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, Eastern Iowa Community College collaboration, where we're interviewing human resource professionals and educators and asking them questions about their COVID-19 response, what's going to be our new normal, and what their plans are moving forward. As always, I'm joined by Chris Caves of Eastern Iowa Community College and the Talent Link. Chris, how's it going?
It's great, Andy. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm pumped because today we have somebody on the show who I'm a big fan of, and that's Darryl Hogue. He's the superintendent of schools over at Riverbend School District in Fulton, Illinois. Darryl, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been obviously challenging, but I've got a great staff and we're working through things. So eager to share what we've been doing.
So what's going on over there at Riverbend, Fulton School District, Steamer Nation? Things are weird. Things are different. What's happening in the hallways of your schools?
Well, the hallways are empty, unfortunately. The lockers were cleaned out yesterday and we're getting ready to get kids' stuff back to them. That's a process. Like everything's a process. And with each announcement, we seem to be shuffling and planning or replanning or unplanning and planning something different. Take you guys through a little bit of our history. We feel very, very fortunate to have a board of education who was progressive and allowed us to do e-learning on a small scale basis last year, and we piloted it last year, so we were comfortable with that concept. And then this year we had a makeup day and we used it. The board approved an e-learning program, and we did that in February. The President's Day was a e-learning day for us as a makeup day. So when the governor announced the school was closing on March 13th, we rolled right into sort of mobilizing the plans we had. Obviously, it wasn't ever meant to be a long-term, but again, our amazing teachers and admin team, they moved quickly and got things ready. And I'll say, again, I had a daughter getting married over that weekend in Corpus Christi, Texas. So I was gone. So principals and the teachers rolled right into planning and got things going. And we spent a lot of time on the phone over those days, but we were ready to roll come March. Really, we were ready March 16th, but we were told we couldn't do that until we had a remote learning day sort of plan in place. And so once the governor and the state superintendent allowed us to do that, we were ready to roll. And again, Illinois gets a lot of bad press at times. And I will say that the state superintendent, ISBE, IASA, these are groups that sort of guide education. They put together a great remote learning plan and document. And we were able to, again, just expand what we do. Our regional office of education, Chris Tennyson and Bob Sondergraf, put together training sessions. So over spring break, teachers on their own time took on a bunch of learning activities. Administrators did. We spent most of our spring break kind of planning for that e-learning, remote learning day. And so again, we were ready to start once this thing got going. Teachers created schedules. The kids have defined times that they're working with the teachers. We have face-to-face going on, and we have teachers reaching out to kids all over the place. So that's been going on. Again, we've talked about what our end of the year looks like with the most recent announcement of schools closing through the end of the school year. So we're looking at a live stream for an award event. We have our scholarship awards in that day, and we want to live stream that. We want to make that still a surprise to students. Again, students and families are struggling. This is not easy.
Right.
Christine, you have kids, you know this. We were talking about this before we got started. The high school seniors, this is a tough time for them. This is a lot of fun in the school year. You go to school for 12 years, and the last 2 months are spectacular as a senior, and unfortunately, it's going to be a different spectacular, and we still want to make it spectacular. So we're talking about, keeping our awards day a surprise, and they put in for the scholarships, and so we're going to live stream that event, obviously meeting the guidelines. We're talking about our graduation and how we can sort of make that impactful in two parts. Do a virtual version, because we have kids leaving in early June for various commitments. And again, when we can have a full-scale version, we'll have a full-scale version. And we're looking at a date in June or a date in July. And so those plans are in place. Prom, trying to do something there, again, to make this meaningful for kids at the end of the year. We've got our sort of end of year plan together, and so we hope we can stay on track with that. Then the next thing you sort of need to think about is, what does next year look like? Schools in our region are talking about, starting things up sometime, maybe late July, doing some early learning sessions before school starts as some catch up. We obviously have to see what the virus brings and what we're allowed to do, but we're thinking about how we can sort of minimize the impact of not being in school every day as well. So that's kind of what's going on. I know we've tried to do, again, some personal things. I shared with you a steamer to steamer surviving the.
Yeah, I want to lead into that. I want to.
Yeah.
So when we interviewed J.R. Kutch, who's a principal at Clinton High School, we talked about his communication with students via social media, but you're doing something pretty cool too. So tell me a little bit. You sent me this document, steamer to steamer communication. What are you doing there to keep that kind of synergy and that open lines of communication among students and families?
Yeah. So again, my role is very different now. I often, and you guys know me well enough, I'm not a sit it behind the desk kind of guy. I like to be out and moving about. And,
definitely not.
the job, now keeps me behind the desk or in front of a computer screen. And so, and I feel like, my job is to connect people and keep resources and information flowing. So I had this idea, again, sort of, Andy, coming from something you've done as a podcaster and seeing different podcasts, is I have a steamer to steamer interview session like this, where I've interviewed parents, students, principals, going to interview a board member, families. I've had 2 families. It's been great with the families because I'll look for families that have multiple kids at various grade levels and talk to them. So do about a 8 to 12 minute recording session. I ask some questions about, how are they handling and managing the quarantine and keeping up with remote learning. And there's some really good dialogue, and the families are just great at sharing that, their all the things that they've liked and the things that they've disliked and the things that have worked well and the things they've struggled with. And so it's a real opportunity to connect with kids and families, and then share that with the other families. So I've done it twice. I put out a weekly update and just sent my second one out. Got plans to keep going with that. The other thing that's been fun is we have a steamer game night. So I, 2 weeks ago, invited the entire staff, all 130 plus people, to participate in a categories night. So I sent out category cards, and we had a lot of fun playing categories, through Zoom. And this past yesterday, we did bingo. We met a guy and he did a bingo thing, and so he sent out cards to us, and we had pop music bingo. And so just trying to keep people going. I mean, this is, we've got to do this for another month or so with the learning piece. Yep. And then we got to keep going after that too.
No doubt. Well, that's awesome. I'm excited to hear that. You're always the innovator and the trend center, my friend. I love it. So yep. Chris has some questions regarding workforce, specifically those students who are graduating, are looking to either enter the workforce right after they graduate, or they're going to college. What does that post-secondary look like? So I'll turn it over to her.
Hey, Darryl. So in terms of decision-making, right now is a time that students and families are responding to the pandemic, but it's really not a time to take your foot off the gas pedal, is it? And in terms of decision-making about post-secondary choices, or even entering the workforce, what are some of the information that you're getting from students, or are there some themes or questions that they are asking about the what next, and how are you addressing that?
Well, I think the what next for students is somewhat promising, provided we can get things rolling soon. I think that businesses and employers are going to be eager to get their own businesses growing and working. So I think kids, we haven't really had this discussion, but I like this idea that this would be a great time for kids to just sort of be looking for those opportunities in those businesses that will be hiring, will be looking to get things kind of up and running again. And so I think what I might do is spend a little time sort of addressing that group of kids, and maybe even focus one of my steamer to steamers on getting past and getting through this, and taking advantage of the work opportunities that may or may not exist once we're done with this. I know the high school folks, we had a pretty robust work study program, and those folks are still communicating with their work study instructor, and just sort of talking about and reflecting on the experiences they had, and how can they sort of use those experiences going forward in school choices, that sort of thing. Our counselor has been reaching out to kids, they're kind of getting ready for school, and like you said, the juniors who now have to sort of sort out and figure out, when am I taking ACT, when am I taking SAT, they've got that piece going. So I would say we're definitely not leading here in this one, but I really like your idea about sort of mobilizing and getting kids ready for that next step. I'd love to hear what others are doing in this area, if you have any ideas.
Well, from the intermediary perspective, Darryl, we're reaching out to our local businesses to see if they'll partner with us for a very simple and amateur virtual job shadow. So we want to highlight some occupations that are still working, those high demand frontline occupations that are still contributing right now through this disaster. And we just want to show kids that, hey, you've still got to invest in your education. You've still got to stay on the plan. You've got to work the plan. And don't let this pandemic be an excuse to justify a disruption, that you still need to be hitting all those important milestones leading up to college or career. So it's Andy and I have interviewed some local HR professionals up in the Clinton area just this last week. And many of those HR folks were advising adults and students to, hey, be contributing right now, if it's in a voluntary capacity or an unpaid capacity, to develop your skills, or at least be a community contributor. Learning something, doing unpaid work, volunteering to deliver meals, whatever that looks like, and putting that on a resume at this point, Darryl, they said that would be a differentiator when it came to hiring. And so for adults and students, now is not the time to just rest and relax and not feel like the workforce doesn't have a place for you, because I believe it does.
Good advice. I like that. We have students that go into the classroom, and that's one of our biggest areas that we contribute directly to the workforce, is allowing student teachers to come and work with teachers. And so, again, that can take place, and virtually, or meeting up with those teachers and sort of maybe even putting those kids to work with the students too. I'm going to suggest that to my community involvement instructor.
So Andy,
but with the introduction of like technology, I don't want to cut you off, Chris, but this is the opportunity to be passive but very active. I mean, you can, as a student, you can sit back and create how-to tutorials. I mean, how many people out there right now are leveraging programs like Zoom and the Microsoft Teams? And there's a younger generation right now that knows how to access that. They know how to adjust the settings on the computer. Take advantage of it. Create some tutorial. Create some content. And really just don't be passive. Get out there and get your name out there. It's important stuff.
Andy, you brought up something. Again, we have a media pub program, and that's perfect for them. I mean, they could be leading this charge with the people they've already reached out to and done some work with, and or our own school, getting our own messaging out too.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris?
Nope. This is a time, the pandemic's giving us a time to actually adapt and be creative. And I think that's why Andy and I both agreed today, Darryl, that you would be an awesome interview because you really are an impressive educational administrator, and I've just enjoyed our time today.
Well, appreciate that.
Darryl, do you have anything else you want to relay to your peers or our audience? Advice, insights?
Well, I ask this question often when I do my interviews, what advice do you have for those out there? Keep at it. I really like what you guys said. You guys have given me some really good things to think about, is building a resume, staying connected, and not losing touch. And it's easy to lose touch. So, you got to be intentional about staying connected. And I really like that. And I appreciate you guys doing this. Andy, you've been all over the place with communicating in this region. Christine, I'm sure you're doing the same thing in the EICC world. We still have to break that barrier of the Illinois-Iowa border. I still have some great ideas that we haven't been able to sort of see to the finish line yet. So we'll keep at it.
Yeah, no doubt this is going to reveal some silver linings. Again, my name is Andy Sokolovich. I'm the Vice President of Economic Development for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation. That's Chris Caves. She's at Eastern Iowa Community College and the Talent Link. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of this EICC CRDC collaboration, where we interview human resource professionals and educators in a way to help you identify new resources, insights, and experiences. Tune in for the next episode. We'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.
Bye.